Hi, I'm Bob Morais.
Hello, I am Kamel Jedidi.
And together we teach Marketing Intelligence, the Art and the Science at Columbia Business School. Generative AI was part of almost every single one of our classes, 22 out of 24 classes to be exact. It was part of our students' major reports. They used it for project planning, they used it for survey writing, for interview development, even for data analysis, and we had some terrific ethics discussions.
We also use it for pedagogical reason in terms of teaching complex marketing research techniques in a simple way. We also use it to enhance the depth of class discussions. For example, a method that we cover in class is called factor analysis, which is about grouping the variables that are highly correlated. This method is typically hard for students to grasp. This year we used ChatGPT to basically ask it to group the variable on a map, and the image that we got really speaks for itself. You don't need to go through the technicalities or the mathematical representation or the lengthy output. Another thing that I mentioned is enhancing the class discussion. Typically we discuss a topic or a case study, and then we follow up with ChatGPT in this case to ask for a different perspective. And oftentimes we get new perspectives that enrich our understanding of the topic and stimulate further in-depth discussion of the topic that we study.
There's emerging evidence that generative AI is making major inroads into and advancing marketing research. And so if our students want to work in marketing research, we felt that we had to really give them some sense of what it was all about. In fact, it could replace some of the jobs that they would normally do. So the idea would be to have them understand AI, understand its potential, and understand how it could be their partner, so that ultimately, if they get a job in marketing research, they're able to use it extremely well and help it advance their careers. In fact, we felt that if we didn't include AI in our course, it would really be a disservice to our students.
We don't view Gen AI as a cheating tool. We view it as a learning tool about marketing research, the topic that we teach. In fact, we encourage our students to use it throughout the marketing research process, from problem formulation, research design, data collection, analysis, and developing recommendation for a company. And it's working very well. But we ask them to report to us how they use it, and what are the pluses, what are the minuses, and how they leverage the learning from ChatGPT to improve the design of the study and the quality of the insight they generate. There's a case that we teach in class about a Chilean nutritional company, and in that case, the company collected a lot of focus group kind of qualitative responses. And it took them like 2 weeks to summarize the responses into themes, or we call them in marketing market segment. But when we gave the task to ChatGPT, the task was done in less than a second with more or less the same classification as did the company.
Another example from a class that we conducted involved a baking goods product. Before class, we provided Gen AI with observational work done called ethnographies on this baking good. And then AI was charged with coming up with a dozen marketing tactics. Now, we didn't reveal that to the students. What we did was have the students take the same information and generate their own ideas. And they did it in groups, and they had a lot of fun doing it, and they came up with some really good ideas. But then after they were finished, we showed them what Gen AI developed. And it was really impressive. And by the way, just as Kamel was saying about the nutritional product, it took AI about 3 seconds to generate 12 ideas. In fact, it probably was more like 1 second. And it was a really good example of how Gen AI can take information, use it for maybe marketing insights, but certainly marketing tactics. And you can couple that with what the students do, and they can see how they can use AI as a collaborator. And that was really critical to the way we were teaching about Gen AI in the class. That, as Kamel said, that it's not cheating, and it's certainly not a substitute for what you can do, but it can help you do what you do and do more of it and do it better. Our students really appreciated what AI could do for them. And it wasn't just, as you might think, making things easier. It was about much more. They were able actually to create more ambitious research projects. They were able to get the data analysis done more efficiently, the grunt work, if you will. And then they could think a little harder about the insights they could glean from all of that.
Embrace Gen AI and don't shun it. It's a great tool for teaching. It's not perfect as yet, but it is improving by the day.
We will evolve our course every year we teach it because AI will be evolving. And that's good for our students, and it's also good for us. And what we would say to faculty is, embrace it because it will enrich your students and it will enrich you too as you teach.